on behalf of the body of founders and the New Black Movement of Africa, we welcome you all to this press conference. As much as possible, before we begin, it is necessary we have a short preamble, because the essence of holding a conference like this is for more enlightenment and to make sure that most of the information out there are informations that are correct. Recently in our climb, there have been so many false narratives. And these false narratives have continued incessantly. And it's more confounding and disturbing that these false narratives may end up eclipsing most of what is left of the moral fabric of our society. So it is in that guise that as much as possible, NBM of Africa will not sit and watch when false narratives are being propagated as fact. Most especially this issue of insecurity. You will understand that recently there has been a lot of stories of violence here and there, restlessness of youths, not to talk of the larger society, talking about herdsmen and all other bandits and co. But then again, if the right narratives are out there, most of these crimes will be curtailed. We have a situation in our country where crime is slowly being covered up with other names that defy prosecution. First of all, cultism. There's a definition of cultism in our society that goes against the grain of what cultism itself actually means. Slowly, it has become normal to cover heinous crimes with just an appellation. Either they are cultist or it's cultism. Those are dangerous indications. It means it could lead to breakdown of law and order. And this is where the challenges of law enforcement actually comes in. And that is why, as a civil organization, we cannot sit by idle, do what we can to make sure we mitigate some of these circumstances, and our names are being maligned and insinuated to mean something else entirely, not minding our sacrifices. As a responsible organization, it's part of our civic rights and our civic duties to make sure there's peace in the continent. There's peace in the world. NBM of Africa is a Pan-African organization, an organization that has been on for more than 40 years. And most of us here are founding members and members of the body of founders. It's an organization born with a very wonderful and positive ideology. And if I could take you guys back to memory lane. In the early days of this movement, there were other organizations, fraternities that were formed as at that time, like the Pirates and the Buccaneers. It's only the NBM of Africa that was born and founded with an ideology that is rooted in Pan-African principles. And that ideology we hold dear up till today. We have transformed those Pan-African ideas into the positivity of neo-Blackism. And neo-Blackism is a combination of a radical intellectualism in trying to make sure that blacks all over the world have a pride of place and humanity at large have pity on earth. So we have come out today to make sure we correct the wrong impressions that was deliberately provided by the BBC and to make sure that those impressions, you as a press will be able to explain. And that's why we urge you, if you have any questions based on our presentations, please ask those questions forthrightly so that we can answer it forthrightly too, so that we can put it out there. NBM is not a secret organization. It's an organization that has its constitution. And that constitution is subservient to that of any country where it exists. And members are obligated to obey such laws. And when members of our organization are found wanting, we do the right thing either by sanction, suspension, or expulsion, as the case may be. And that's why we welcome investigation by security agencies into our affairs, because it is of great advantage to us to remove bad eggs from our midst. Because every society must have its bad eggs. Every organization must have its bad eggs. We do not deny that. And we do everything as much as possible to make sure what our constitution provides is well followed. NBM is not blackers. This movement was founded as Neo-Black Movement of Africa in 1977. And the name has never changed to date. As an organization, our activities are novel. We engage in both philanthropic, educational, health. In fact, our CSRO cuts across. We have, to a very large extent, because we are extremely committed to the issues of COVID-19. So to a very large extent, our enlightenment in that process is on. And even recently, we try to organize and mobilize people to make sure they are vaccinated. And apart from that, as much as possible too, most of the displaced people from different conflicts in Africa and all over the place, we try as much as possible to see how they can be reintegrated back into society. And in health, we do a lot of health activities because we put a lot of importance in primary health care. So what we do, most times we do a lot of even eye tests, medical tests, even surgeries to make sure, at least to assist the less privileged in meeting up with their health. Then education, we take education seriously. So there are scholarships. We do a lot of scholarships. We do a lot of competition because we believe education is the future, even from secondary schools and all, and the universities. Education is the future. So we try as much as possible to encourage education of youths, because part of the problems we face today is because of the lack of education. And it is to this extent too, our headquarters at Amagba that has been created there is going to be a study center, where we are going to make sure that we educate people on vocational and African studies, and certificates will be granted in partnership with other higher institutions of learning. We have a list of so many activities that we have done and which we are doing, because as much as possible too, we are state government, but most especially the youths. We have programs for youths, making sure that those who cannot continue with their education and those who are unemployed, those who are employed, not well employed, those who need skills and vocations. So, and that's why we are going to set up fully at Amagba to be able to disseminate and get more people into our dragnet. The ideology behind NBM is the ideology of Pan-Africanism. A Pan-African ideology, because Africa is the homestead of all black people all over the world. So, and as much as possible, without regionalization, it will be difficult for Africa to have its pride of place in the world, in the global space. If you look at the world right now, there are regional blocs, European Union, they are all coming together as one. So at the end of the day, Africa is being relegated to deal individually, country by country, which does not augur well for the economies of Africa. So as much as possible, we are trying to have a united Africa, even if not politically, but economically, so that Africa can be able to stand in its pride of place, looking at technology and all that. It is because of this lack of regionalization. Even though ECOWAS is there, AU is there, but you all agree with me that we need more efforts in this regard. How do we, as Nigeria, hope to contend the economic policies of a European Union that has so many countries vamped together? So at the end of the day, we are not being dealt with well in the global marketplace. And that's why we try to prepare our people and individual countries in Africa that Pan-Africanism, that Africa must come together in certain aspects of what we do to be able to have more negotiating power in the global marketplace, especially now that technology has become a global issue, so that the weaker countries will be able to be guided by the stronger ones. That's set to represent, that's set to pursue black issues. We are more or less a target too for those imperialist forces or imperialist agents. This issue of insecurity is a big problem, and NBM as an organization has done researches into some of these things in the past. Although we have sent solutions to different people in government and all that, but we also try to do our own bit, which shows that it is the community itself, the way things are, based on the challenges by the security agencies. The communities have to be mobilized to come together, at least to assist the security agencies with information and intelligence as much as possible. We try some of this partnership at times to try to reduce these issues of restlessness of youths and all that. We are pushing it further and further. That's why I said I started with the issue of false narratives, because as members of the press too, you guys also have to understand that it is not proper for heinous crimes to be committed, and the only thing we hear is they are cultists, knowing that calling them cultists would make prosecution difficult by the police in the court of law. At the end of the day, they are arrested, fleeced of some money, and returned back into the streets. These are things that we need to properly look into. Why not address the crimes that people commit individually? There's a way lawyers call it crime. Vicarious liability. In crime, you cannot run away from it. Criminal participation comes along with criminal accountability as provided for in the Constitution. And these are things that we need to be dealing with. But there are distractions. Heinous crimes happen, and the next they say they are cultists, they be cultists, they be this. And before you know it, sanctions are not meted out, people are not punished. Then, how do we think those things will abate? It will not abate. So that is why, as much as possible, if somebody is arrested, if it is illegal possession of firearms, if it is murder, if it is assault, occasionally harm, let it be so stated. And let us pursue those crimes instead of covering it up with an assigning word cultist, when the true meaning of the word cultist is not even there. Some people even call themselves cultists because it has, in the society, it has now elevated itself into more or less like a thing of pride in certain sectors of societies. These are things that we need to look into. The social fabric is fast breaking down. We need to join hands together, and there's a stigma that is attached to it, that the few good men who want to come out to risk their lives to try to make sure some of these things, they are called cultists, and it's not everybody that is averse to activism that will not bother about such things, that will want to come out. So we need to reduce these false narratives, and the press can assist in getting these false narratives and explaining them so that the people can understand what the issues really are, and we can be more secured as a people.